Talk shoes. Recorded live.
Hello, this is Vancouver. Welcome to Gang-Stalking and Targeted Individuals. This show is being recorded, and anything said will go into the public domain. Today is Wednesday, September 15, 2010. To find more of these shows, search TalkShoe.com for Vancouver or Gang-Stalking. You can also follow this show, number 87161, at TalkShoe.com and participate in the chat before and after the show. I have on the phone with me here guest 7, and how are you today?
Oh, I'm doing great, sir.
Now, you surfed into my room, and you said that, why don't you tell us how you found out that there was something going on here?
Well, I found out from a website called 4chan.org, and someone posted that these guys were extremely paranoid and might be fun to raid them a little.
Okay, so then you showed up in hopes of doing a raid on this. Is that right?
Yes, but once I found out the raid was over, it got interesting.
Oh, it got interesting because I was responding to your chat room requests.
Yeah.
Okay. So how many of these have you done? I'm just curious. How many of these raids have you participated in?
Not really enough to. A few.
Okay. And what sort of I'm just trying to ask some questions here that I think people that are listening to this are going to want to know. What sort of a charge do you get out of participating in raids on chat rooms such as this and otherwise?
Oh well, it definitely gives you an adrenaline rush. That's for sure. To get live responses from people who are upset or who are, it's like playing devil's advocate, really.
Mm-hmm. And is this the first talk show that you've ever called into? And where you've actually gone live with your voice?
Oh yes, definitely.
You've never done that before. You indicated earlier that you're 19 years old or so.
Yes.
And how long have you been doing that?
Well, I started participating whenever I was about 13. Just doing small things like commenting on people's YouTube accounts and starting internet arguments, and then the chat rooms really got interesting because so many people would respond, and it got pretty lolsy. LOLs.
Lolsy, okay. As in laugh out loud-sy, okay.
Yes.
And so you've been doing this for 6 years, and you just kind of enjoy doing it in your time off, or what?
Oh yeah, just whenever I'm not doing anything, my downtime.
So you've indicated that you kind of like starting arguments on the internet. Why don't you elaborate on that for us a little bit, please?
Oh, well, it's really easy once you find an easy target. But you guys weren't really targets. You were just people like us wanting to learn information. So
but go ahead.
So I don't know. I wouldn't really get much joy out of raiding something like this because they're just people, but I still have morals. Have you heard of Jesse Slaughter?
Yeah, let's not mention any first and last names, but I'm going to let that one pass. No, I haven't. But if you don't mind, I want to change the subject because I want to stay away from real names or talk about them. Somebody's asking if you are male or female in the chat room. Pardon me?
I'm female.
Okay, a 19-year-old, and so you didn't get a real joy out of doing this because of real people. What kind of people or what kind of sites do you get a joy out of participating in raids on?
Oh, sites where people, sites like cult sites that take advantage of people, and sites like sites for underage children who frequently get on and then upload videos of themselves doing things really stupid, like on YouTube.
And other sites that you've participated. Well, like tell me about the last couple of sites maybe that you participated in raiding.
Well, Gaia Online has been a big one.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I shouldn't say that. I mean, I shouldn't ask that question because I'm violating my own. I'm trying to keep the identifying info out of there. But, so it's not a coincidence that you just happened to show up here, that somebody posted this information over at 4chan.org, and all of a sudden 4 or 5 people show up.
Yeah.
And you said you were on here last night for a minute or so?
Yeah.
And you were one of the half a dozen or so participants in that raid last night.
Oh, yeah. But, I don't know. I kept my mouth shut because it didn't seem to. I mean, the responses were varied. I didn't really want to get involved.
Yeah. Private Entry is saying, have you ever read about 2600? Do you have any clue what Private Entry is talking about?
Yeah, the Computer Association, the Computer Organization 2600, I believe.
Is.
Oh, well.
Yeah, I'm gonna hang on here. I'm gonna mute the chat because I'm. Yeah, and the reason I'm doing that is because when I determine that the person who I'm interviewing is paying more attention to the screen than the interview, I tend to try to knock out the screen. So I apologize to the people I've muted as well as to yourself for doing it. So tell me again about this 2600 guest 7, if you could, please.
Oh, it's an organization of people who are affluent in computers, and for programmers who know computer languages such as Perl and C++.
And what do they do? What do they do that that is below the belt, so to speak, if there is such a thing?
Oh, well, they're actually a very noble group. They have their own periodical published in major bookstores.
Okay, all right. So I'm not sure. I don't want to necessarily go there. So, what is the one thing about these cyber stalkers that most people don't know about?
Well, they can get any information about you, usually just from your email address.
Okay.
And that's a very sensitive area because sometimes they can even get your social security number, your credit card numbers, all just from knowing your email. And
you indicated that there are, as we were chatting before we went on this live call, you indicated that there are underground websites that trade in information, or that publish information like this. Yeah. Could you elaborate on that?
Oh yes. Well, there's a coalition of underground websites, and they find a target first off, and then they dive into the target's life and try to get every piece of information about the target through their friends, through social engineering, through email searches, through web searches, and then after they get the information, they'll start doing treacherous things like sending escort women to your house, or even just something as simple as giving you a fake pizza order.
Okay. Wow. And what else did they do? These underground sites. What other things did they participate in? Could you just elaborate on that some more? Because this is totally fascinating. I've not heard of this concept.
Oh, they also get into the real life world and participate in real life raids or IRL raids.
You call it IRO, as in
IRL.
information. IRL raids. What does that mean? IRL, please.
Well, they usually start out like protests or like a normal picket, and it's usually a bunch of people trying to spread information through gathering. That's happened with the Church of Scientology. They were raided several times by anonymous users trying to spread information about the dangers of Scientology.
Okay, so what else about these underground sites? And we don't want to necessarily mention any of the sites themselves, but what term would you Google, for example, if people wanted to know more about these underground sites where these people, these cyberstalkers, as you call them, hang out? What would you Google to find those sites? Okay, but tell me. Go ahead.
Insurgency.
Insurgency.
Yeah, with the letter I in slash marks. Right on your question mark key, the slashes.
Okay. Well, I think we've gone about 15 or so minutes, but before I end off, is there anything else that you wanna put on the record that targeted people who are targeted by these cyber stalkers might want to know? How can you wise them up to just tell me the most significant thing that you could help these people with?
Well, the best thing to do is limit your personal information on websites such as Facebook and MySpace, and especially YouTube, and never use your full name, never post your phone number, and keep your email address secret, or at least private. Okay.
Well, that's great information. Just any more, could you dig a little deeper? That was such good information, but any other information that you can, or warnings or what have you, just tell us a couple of more things, please.
Be wise about the stuff you post on the internet, because there are going to be people who disagree with you, but if you post something utterly offensive, you're definitely going to get, even something that's just mildly offensive is subject to raids, and be very careful about what you post.
God, that's good information. Just one more. Limit the information. Be careful about what you post. Can you just dig one more time and tell us one more thing, please?
Okay. Start learning about how computers work, because if you learn about how the people are doing these things, and if you partyvan.info is a very good site to learn about how these people do these things. And it's a nice site because it gives you an inside feel for their culture. You might want to learn how to hide your IP address while you send emails. That's something not very many people know how to do.
Okay. Well, you're coming up with such good ideas. I should just let you bring up another one that, because I don't know what to ask here, because I'm fairly new to the subject matter, but tell us one more thing, if you would. Yeah, because you're you've been doing this for 6 years now, so.
Let's see. Your information hidden.
Yeah, something else that would help people to thwart or to avoid cyberstalking? Okay, let me ask you.
Make sure you Google yourself and your emails to make sure what comes up.
Good point. Have you ever been privy to any crime that's taken place on these underground cyberstalking sites? I mean, not privy, but just have you ever known about or heard about or learned about any crimes that have taken place?
Oh, yes.
Such as?
Especially with, there's a new application. Well, it's not new. It's been around for 3 years, which can track where you are from your Facebook account. So underneath your little post, you might say, "I'm going over to Betty's this weekend."
Is that like Twitter? Is that what you mean, or?
Yes. And they can find out your location, whether you posted it from home or from your work. And then, if they find out you're not home, there have been bands of robbers who go to people's houses through internet information and then rob them. That happened in Britain about a month ago.
Okay. What other kind of crimes are you privy to that have taken place as a result of these underground cyberstalkers?
So many people have been vandalized. People will go over to, people will find out other people's addresses through the internet and go over and salt their lawns or do those other childish pranks that they do.
Wow. Okay. Anything worse, like than pranks, or robbing? Anything that gets into like assaults or possibly even murders? I'm just curious if you go ahead. Let's hear about it.
Those are usually more on an isolated level where you know a person in real life. And it usually starts out as cyberbullying, and then you've seen on the news that it escalates into real life bullying at the basketball court or at the schoolyard or wherever they may hang out.
Okay, so you used the term that I may had heard on the news, but cyberbullying. Can you just elaborate on that for us a little bit, please?
Oh, well, cyberbullying is really using ad hominem attacks, using any attacks to people. They might try to DODS your website by sending multiple pings and requests for information to your website.
And denial of service. That's what you meant, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now you also bordered on that it leads into following you at the basketball court. That was just an example, but why don't you follow up on that a little bit with?
Oh yeah. If an argument starts out on the MySpace or on the Facebook, and people in your actual life that you see day to day, they might get offended by something you post. They might get offended just by how much information you're willing to share. They really might get offended by anything and start an argument, and then that leads to a lot of trouble usually.
Okay.
The best thing to do is not to argue back on the internet.
More good advice from Guest 7. Guest 7, anything that's worse, like murders that have taken place because of as an add-on to this cyberbullying, which led into
yes.
Let's hear it.
There was this one girl who, and you've probably heard this on the news.
Let's not say her name though. But let's just hear what happened.
She was talking on MySpace to this supposed boy who she had never met, and it began simple at first, just hello, how are you? You look pretty, you're nice, let's talk more. But it became, you're ugly, I hate you, you should die. And she committed suicide in her closet. And the person who was making those attacks at her was none other than a 47-year-old woman who had a daughter of her own.
Yeah, I think I heard about that one. So this 47-year-old woman got the young lady to commit suicide. Any other examples of murders that revolved around the concept of cyberstalking and that led into that?
Well, there have been a few instances where people have posted extreme threats, like, tomorrow I'm going to go shoot up the Discovery Building or whatever, and it became real.
That somebody actually did shoot it up, then, you mean?
Yeah. And
really?
The incident, I think it was in Philadelphia, was actually posted on 4chan 24 hours before it happened. So that was a clear warning to the world.
Of course, a lot of things are probably posted on 4chan, and most of them don't come true, would be my guess. Isn't that true, or what?
Yeah, that is, you have a very good point.
You never know what to believe and what not to believe.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm getting ready to end off this interview. I so thank you, Guest 7, for coming on live with your real voice. Just one last piece of information, or warning, or to these people who are being targeted. I'm just asking for one last piece. What do you have to say?
Know how the trolls work. Know the lingo. Know anything you can to be informed and keep yourself protected.
Okay. And?
I think that's pretty much it.
Hey, Guest 7, thanks for appearing here on Gang-Stalking and Targeted Individuals. My name is Vancouver, and I'm getting ready to end it off right now.